I am Humaira Kabir, Operations Manager at AMP USA, and I will be your host today. Along with me today, we have Mr. Mohammad Shahanshah Ansari, who is the President of AMP USA from Chicago, and Mr. Shehzad Muqaddam, who is the Operations Manager at AMP India from Mumbai. Now, I will quickly run a presentation for all of you in order to let you know a little more about us. Next slide, please. Welcome to AMP WebTalk. AMP stands for Association of Muslim Professionals. AMP is registered in India and USA as non-profit organization. Recently, AMP got registered in UK and Australia as well. It has completed 12 years of serving our community in various fields such as education, employment, and empowerment. AMP has a vision to positively impact lives of 10 million people by 2030. It's our vision to empower Muslims for the greater benefit of the society in general and nation as a whole. AMP's vision is to be a model Muslim community which is advanced in education, socially progressive, culturally vibrant, politically influential, and economically dynamic. So what AMP has achieved in these 12 years is right in front of you all. We got school development programs, and we call it SDPs. We conduct lectures in schools and colleges. We also have employment assistance cell, that is EAC. Here we organize job fairs and job drives. By scholarship and self-employment, we aim to transform life by this project. AMP Resource Center, where we got more than 600 plus counselors who help students in career guidance and counseling. We also do awards and partnership with different companies and training partnerships. Besides the achievements, AMP presence today is as follows. On ground presence, AMP has more than 100 plus active chapters. We are present in 19 states and 16 countries with 6,000 plus active members. We also got our online presence through different social media platforms, where we got 125,000 professionals connected to us as members and volunteers. If you are willing to be a part of AMP, you can always visit www.ampindia.org/joinamp. Well, without wasting our important time, I would like to introduce our speaker of today's session, Mr. Ibrahim Mughal. Sorry.
Welcome everyone. First of all, thank you, AMP, to give me an opportunity, to share whatever experience I have. In a nutshell, I'm in US since last 18 years or so. Been in the technical field for almost 20 plus years. Started as a developer, and alhamdulillah, by Almighty's blessings, I'm here where I'm today. Without Almighty, nothing happens. So I think what I will try to cover today is basically, in my 20 years, right, I have hired many technical professionals, from developer to managers to basically various team leads, and basically there is a certain framework, and what I will try to cover, inshallah, in next 40 minutes or so, how to use that framework. And I think preparation is a key. So with that, let me share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen, Ibrahim sir. I would just request you to, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. So I think basically, again, given my various connections with various, my friends and coworkers, from various companies, as well as I hire for my own company. Basically, I work for Dassault Systems, and we are, serving many industries, and as part of it, right, we're in the technological field. So what I thought, it will be a great idea to basically, share that framework, right? I think we all, prepare in certain way, but, if we put a process and a framework that could help us to represent ourselves in a better way, right? And that way we can, show our skills. So what I will try to cover today is various key topics, first of all, why to prepare, right? What's the benefit of preparing? um, then it is very critical to do your homework. As we say, we need to tie our camel, right? You have to do your homework. Without doing the homework, you may not be able to achieve the results of what we are looking for. Also, there are few frameworks in the market, and I'll explain one of them with some examples, so that way it can help you. And it is always very important to have a process to follow. And once you get that gist of it, right, it's very easy to basically attend any kind of interview. Typically in any interview, whether you are a developer or whether you're a director or you are trying to go for a C-level position, it is very critical, especially how to prepare for behavioral interview. And the framework what we'll discuss, it will help a lot in basically achieving that. Then obviously what I did, I just try to give some examples, right? If you are a tech lead or a senior software engineer or any team lead position in the technical field, right? How if there will be questions, right, in these big companies, hey, can you design Facebook, right? Or can you design a YouTube? All these kind of tricky questions are being asked. And I think the intent is not to get your idea and go and implement. The intent is, what is your process, what is your method, how you are trying to address that problem, right? So that is very important, again, to have a framework. So I have a framework with an example. I can show you that. uh, uh, Even still some of the big companies, like Microsoft and others, they are also very focused on object oriented design as well. So I'll give some examples there. And again, I give data science, which is a very hot field nowadays. So I will try to kind of give some examples how to prepare, and then we'll wrap up, right? What are the takeaways, right? So I think inshallah the intent is to give you the framework, right? And that framework can help you to prepare very well, and inshallah now you will get the things and the new job what you're looking for. So the first topic, right? Why to prepare? And I'm sure this image may resonate with you, or at least for me, when I was in my career initially, when I was a junior and trying to get some new openings, right? So typically what happens if you don't prepare, right? You stress out in front of the interview or interview panel, right? And the moment you stress out, you get sweating. You try to do body language, body gestures, which is not normal, not usual. And so what happens due to this, your brain is basically putting all of the energy to calm you down, which means that your brain is not trying to answer the questions in a right logical way. So which means that then you will blabber, you will not answer the questions, you may repeat the questions. And as soon as you start in that fashion, the first impression always is the best impression you should give. And if you start with on a wrong foot, then you will have a challenge. So always prepare. And again, I will give an example. I known a few C-level executives, due to my work for big companies. And one thing I found, and it is very astonishing, I found it a few years ago, is that whenever a CEO of managing billions of dollars of companies, they go on a stage, what do you think? Why they are so confident? Why they are so easy? And I found out, and it was a kind of an accident wherein I was trying to get a meeting with the C-level executives, and basically I figured out that before these big sessions, big speeches, they rehearse for hours. So it is very important, we all should prepare. And again, I prepared for this session as well, because again, we need to be ready on how we should present ourselves. So that's the reason why we need to prepare. So doing your homework is very critical, right? And I think there are certain elements we need to understand. And again, as per our beliefs, right, we have to be sincere, candid, and realistic. Be honest. Don't try to fake it out. And I think, unfortunately, in some of the technical field, right, there are fake resumes, fake experiences, and please don't do that. Again, it does not belongs to our faith, as well as it's not a good fit for you as well as the organization. One or the other day they will find out, and it will be a pretty problematic. So be honest, be sincere, be candid, and that always helps. It helps a lot. And the moment you're honest, right, it is study done scientifically that you will not be nervous, you will not be stressing out. So it is a very key important factor. Present yourself in the company's logo. So this is, again, you go and do some research for which company you're applying for. So I can give a couple of examples, right? So if you're going for Google, right, they call the new employee who is joining called Nooglers, or the existing employees, they are called Googlers. So there is a culture of Googlers, right? So basically that culture is how you can be innovative, right? Because they're looking for a lot of innovative ideas. So when you respond to the questions, use those words and say, hey, because of these qualities, I could be a Googler, right? So again, this is part of your homework. So try to find, and again, you can find all of this information on the web, or talking to your connections working in those companies. Be mindful and alert, right? So I think in this case, what I'm saying is, just again, I'm not saying if you're going for a Google interview, just buy a Google laptop or something like that. Just try to be match what their values are. If you have a Google bag, take with you, right? So it kind of shows that, hey, this particular candidate is very interested, and they like the element of the company they're applying for, and be very alert, right? So basically, I know one example where I worked in aerospace and defense industry, where you have to be in the formals all the time, and I worked on many industries. So I moved from aerospace to a retail industry. So one of the company you might know, Gap, Banana Republic, and I was there to help do the digital transformation for them. And I show up in a full suit, right, a formal suit there, and the senior director calls me and he says, great, you joined my project. Tomorrow you cannot wear this, it is odd. I said, what happened? He said, no, it's jeans and casual shirts you need to wear, that's our culture. So make sure you go according to that, right? So that way it shows that you are well prepared and you are savvy in that aspect. Be kind to everyone. So again, our faith teaches us that we all are equal. We all learn from each other, and doesn't matter whether somebody you meet when you're trying to go on the campus for an interview, even where he's working in a cafeteria, or somebody is a director or an executive, they all are equal. And there is a story I know for sure, that one candidate got selected in one of these big companies, and then he went to the cafeteria, and in the cafeteria he had a very rude interaction. And again, he presumed that because of the look, right, the person where he had a rude interaction was in fact a senior director, but he was having like torn jeans, he had a long hairs, and he has a headphone on, and it turned out he was the one for his team. He was getting recruited, and because of his rude behavior, he has to lose the job. So again, you have to be make sure that kind to everyone when you are on the campus. And again, go and do study the website of the company, especially the social media, and what are the website, what are the values, and that way you see how the company's culture is. Read and analyze the news about the company. So it is very important, right? Are they releasing new product, new software, whatever the company is, right? So that you can relate what experience you have, and at the same time you can mention those things, so that the other side of the table, they understand that, hey, you have done your homework and you're trying to connect the dots, and that is always good. And lastly but not the least, fully understand your job description. Make sure which job you're applying for, what are the output criteria, what are being expected, and make sure you cover all those points when you're talking or going through the interview process. And obviously, make sure you understand the company values. And again, doing this study, you will come to know whether are you a fit or not. It has to be both ways. It's not that always you are trying to apply for certain companies, but if they don't match your values, then it's better not to proceed further, right, and waste your time. So how to prepare for the interviews, right? This is again, I'm just checking the time. So this is again a framework which I found myself is very useful, and this is being used in almost all big tech companies, and even in my company when I recruited by last year, like almost 50 people in last 2 years, and it was tough because finding the right talent is always tough. So I use this framework to judge them, to basically evaluate them. I would say evaluate, not judge, but I think this framework is used widely, and I think this is one of the critical element which we all need to do, and you should have this as kind of an ongoing live document with you for yourself as you are progressing in your career. So this framework is called STAR framework. Basically this start with S, which is called situation. So basically when you're trying to reply or respond to an interview question, any question, whether it is technical, non-technical, whatever, whatever role you are in, start with situation. And situation is like describing what is the context, what is the problem you are in, right? Because you're trying to respond to the question. And you want to understand the problem to make sure, the problem context defined by the interviewer is valid. Then, what are the next one is task, right? What were you asked or expected to do and why? So problem is defined, that is your situation. Then again, the interviewer may ask you to, hey, how you come out of this problem and why, right? So make sure you understand the outcome. Then action, right? So what action you will take to particularly solve that problem so that you can address that particular issue. And then at the end, the results. So what was your outcome? So this framework is very important because this framework, if you use this and keep it keep practicing even in your day-to-day life. So when I go back and present to my management, my executives, I use this framework. So hey, this is my situation. This is where I want to go, and these are the action items I have took, and this is the result I have achieved. And if you use this framework, this is the best way of representing what skills you have, and this is the best way to communicate and the best way to understand on the other side of the table. So there is another framework, and I think this framework, again, used some other companies, but it follows the same principle. Instead of 4 steps, it is just 3 steps, right? Again, it starts with S, which is the situation. What is a situation or a problem? The target, right? What should be the end state, right? So how you need to come out of that issue, and what should be the solution for that issue. And the proposal is like the plan and action what you take, which also includes the results, right? So again, it's a similar framework, but sometimes instead of 4 steps, it is a 3-step element. So let's go to the question. I think this is the right time to get some answers. So I'll wait for a few minutes.
So everyone requested to please take part in the polling, which is going on at this moment. So once we have the answer, then it will be shared with our speaker of the day, Ibrahim Mughal Bhai, and then we'll discuss about it.
I really like the idea. So it keeps everyone awake.
Yeah, so we have already received some 75% of the people have voted. We'll wait for a few more seconds. And once we go beyond 80%, we'll share the result. Yeah, I think we are good to share the result. I'm ending the poll and I'll be just sharing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I hope you can see the results. So the again answer the question was the STAR technique, what it stands for. So obviously most of you have answered correctly. It is the answer C: situation, task, action, and results. Right. So this is where again as I covered earlier, right? It is a very good way to present yourself and your skills and even communicate. The message to the other side of the table. So I will close this. Okay, so thank you for that. That's a good way to just keep us intact, and how that particular framework will be used. So I took an example, and again I took two roles, and even you can have many roles, but I just wanted to kind of give how practically it could be applied, right? So I shared some of examples from my own career, when I was a software engineer. So again, this question you'll be asked, all the time, right? When things go bad, right? How do you deal with it? Give me an example of a situation you dealt. And this is a typical question will be asked, no matter what role we are playing. So again, as a software engineer, right? So again, this one of the answers how you should form, right? And again, you don't need to tell them that, oh, this is a situation, task, or action or result. Just keep that in mind so that you can phrase your sentences according to that. So if you practice few times, you will definitely get the gist of it. So again, if we start with this, I was working as an app developer for Bell Company when a security breach was discovered at the database server level. The DB vendor issued a patch, and we had more than 100 database servers running in 3 different data centers. They all needed to be patched. So again, this is a situation. There is no time. It has to be done ASAP. Again, it wasn't my role to apply the patch because I'm a developer. But the senior director asked all of us for quick ideas to get the work done faster. So that's the task, right? That is what expected. So I came up with a plan that team of all available members could come together. Few of us could execute the testing if there is a detailed document to test the patch on those servers. Others could help, which servers are patched, which are not patched. And I think this will, get the actual DB admins to do the work of actually patching the server. So they don't have to spend timing in validating and, tracking which servers are done or which are not. So again, this is the actions, right? These are the things what you have done. And then the results are, I never had a DB admin tasks before, which I didn't have any skills, but I followed the steps and basically, I was able to, apply those patches. So it shows that the result was, obviously we came out of that urgent situation. And again, it shows that, as an individual, you're willing to learn, you're willing to, step up. And that's what all the companies are looking for. They are not looking for a perfect candidate. They're looking for a candidate who's willing to learn and willing to, expand their horizon, right? So again, at the end, one of my feedback was, I gained a new appreciation for the DB admins. So typically, again, with our biased view, we thought the system admins and the IT admins are, oh, they are just, there to do the regular, repetitive work, but in fact they have the most tough job, right? So now it shows that you're respecting others and you value every team member. So these values are very important for the interviewer to understand, right? So if you reply in this way, it could help a lot. So I have another example. Say an engineering manager, right? As a manager, as a team leader, how you do it. And again, this is one of my own example, right? So I had few team managers on my team. One night they send me email and a text saying that, hey, there is a support call. And basically my team managed the PLM application for a company. And basically it was end of the month, and it's an aerospace and defense company. So they deliver these helicopters, right? So they had a delivery of the product was blocked. So if they don't deliver the product end of the month, they will not recognize the revenue. And it was a big impact on their quarterly revenue. So the jobs were failing because it was not able to print the invoice, and millions of dollars were at stake. So that's a problem and the situation, right? So what's the task or the to-be system is, hey, I'm responsible for the execution of those SLAs. So I had certain SLAs which we have signed with the customer, and it has to deliver those invoices. If we don't do that, then we as a company as well will be in trouble. So basically what I did from the actions point of view, I announced myself on the call, and asked for a status report, right? So this is where, my management school training kicked in. So again, what you're trying to do here, you're trying to show that, hey, apart from the experience, I've also did some education, right? So it kind of, gives the perspective to the interviewer that, oh yes, he or she is trying to use the educational experience, what he or she gained in the job as well. So my team is used to me being a laid back manager, but I find that people calm down when you ask methodological questions and give clear and specific directions. So instead of just verbally getting the input, I said, let's go to a common community where you can all put your feedback and what your findings are. So that way I have a trail of what is going on. So that's kind of my action, right? We need to solve the problem and how we need to solve the problem. So my team has guessed prematurely that the problem was in the most recent release update. But once we review the code, there had been a change for scheduled backups. Not just the code, but there was backups going on, and those backups were creating some issues by creating additional database connections, and that's where the jobs were timed up. So the moment we found out the problem, it didn't took more than a few seconds to resolve the issue. And I think one of the key thing is you have to be calm under pressure, right? So this is what a company is looking for from a team lead or a manager, and that is one of the critical things. You cannot be aggressive and yelling and screaming, right? Because as long as the team lead is calm, the team could go through the pressure situation very easily. And again, as a lesson learned, I did a postmortem report to make sure that how we should handle this kind of situation in future. So what it shows to the company who's trying to hire me is that I'm calm. I know how to lead the team. I know how to manage the team in the stress situation. And that way, I'm learning from all of these new situations, and then I'm trying to prepare for the next challenge. So this is one of the best way or a best framework to basically, express yourself. Again, one of the key thing what we have seen here, you should always use I versus we. I know it is counterproductive, right? When we are working as a team, we should always use we. But again, remember here, you're trying to present your own skills. Definitely agreed. When you work, when you join the company, the we is very important. But before joining the company, the I is so critical. As you have seen, 95% of the time, it was I in this response as well as in the previous response. So make sure the moment you start doing we, the problem is it is not about using the word I. The problem is how it is conceived by the interviewer. If you say we, so the interview, the guy who's taking your interview or gal, he or she does not know which task is done by you. And that is the only reason. So again, be candid, be honest, but try to use I versus we. So there are key values which is being looked by every company, and especially the tech companies, right? And again, what I'm giving these values, right? There are total 8, categorized into 8. And you should have an example for each of these values using the STAR technique, which we saw before. Business agility. What does that mean? So the business agility means basically, you need to make faster decisions. If your leader is not available and there is a problem, a tactical problem, you have to solve it. You cannot wait for your leader and come back and give direction. So the companies are looking for, can you take the calculated risk? And take the calculated risk, take the decision. Even if you fail, you have reason how you failed. And again, if you're using the agile mindset, right, you're failing fast to learn fast, right? So again, they're looking for that. They don't want a perfect candidate to solve all the problems, but they want somebody to take action. Doing nothing is one of the biggest issues. If you fail, that's even better than doing nothing. So always make sure how you can show the business agility angle what you have. Customer obsession, always customer is, center focus. Show some examples where, when there was a customer feedback and there were some issues, right? What are the issues, right? So how you took that comment and how you improved, not only yourself, you're managing a team, your team and things like that. So customer obsession is one of the key element, the companies are looking for. Deliver value, always deliver results. It is very critical. You cannot take months and years to deliver something, right? It has to be in an incremental way, in agile way. So how you show that you're delivering the results and making a difference. So it is very important, and make sure you have those examples ready with you. Deep approach. So it is very, very important. All these big tech companies, if you say that, for example, again, I'm taking an example from one role, right? If you're a software engineer in the application development, and maybe you are a full stack developer, right? You should be able to go to the level of coding and showing what code you can do. You cannot be at the surface, and those days are gone. So whichever role you're executing, right? Make sure you go deep. And the critical thing is, do not talk in abstract. And literally, as part of some of my engagements, in the past few months, I had came across some good candidates, but they always go in abstract. The moment they go in abstract, you are done. Because I think what happens when you go to abstract, the interviewer will think that, does he really know it, or he's just faking it because he just saw something on the internet. So it is very important you have a detailed example, and you go deep. And again, it should be your own example. Trusted advisor. The companies are looking for, you're a trusted advisor internally and externally, right? If you're a customer facing role, the customer trusts you, which means that whatever advice you're giving to the customer, it is very valuable to them, and then they trust you because you help them in a very tricky situation. Similarly, internally, when you're working within the company which you're trying to apply for, you build that relationship. So you can use an example from your own past experience, how you are a trusted advisor and how you help internally as well as externally. Frugal innovation. Every company, even though they are most richest company in the world, they are looking for economical aspect. You should always try to save elements for the company, right? And having that innovation or the frugality, right? And typically, we are from the Indian subcontinent, and we have that tendency. So let's keep that one, right? How can we save for the company, right? You should not have a laid back attitude, right? Oh, my company is paying for this, so I will just order 10 more training sessions of this, as an example. Just think about, in every aspect, how can you save for the company, and how you can be economical, right? Simply innovative, right? Make sure you challenge the status quo. If things are happening in a certain way for a long time, and there are problems, don't just stop. Try to help, and try to basically make sure that you are bringing the innovation in a way which can help the company. And lastly but not the least is ownership. Always own whatever the success or failure. And if you do that, then basically companies are looking that, yes, this guy or girl, I can trust him or her, because he or she will take the leadership and make sure it goes to the end. And if there are failures, he or she will own it, right? And that's very important. Do not pass on the blame, right? If you have done something, accept it. So I will go through an example of so let's go through a poll. That's a good time. So
So everyone, you can see the poll which is going on your screen. Please participate, and then our speaker of the day, Mr. Ibrahim Mughal, will discuss about this poll result. So we are close to 80%. In few seconds, we'll end the poll, and then inshallah we'll share.
Inshallah.
Yeah, you can see on the screen.
Perfect. So again, that's a very good question, and I think everybody got the gist of it, right? So what does STP stand for? Is the situation, target, and proposal. Again, it's a short form of STAR, right? What we have seen. So again, great response. Thank you. I think everybody's listening, so it's a great news. So let's move on. So I got few examples. I got few examples of using the STAR framework, right, which I highly recommend. Make sure you prepare in that manner. But there are a couple of roles I took it, or a couple of domains I would say. One is the system design interview, which is being asked in every big tech companies. And again, how you approach that, right? And I will try to go fast because I have only 10 minutes to go. So basically, what is the process, right? And again, this frame, always a framework is key. So first is the interviewer will ask you, hey, can you design this? Can you do this, right? So make sure you capture the requirements, right? Ask questions. Again, it is not the intent that you have to design right then, right there, and they will use your design. It's more about what's your thought process, how you solve a problem, right? So make sure you understand the requirements, ask questions back to clarify the requirements. Have a back of the napkin efforts, right? How do you know? You don't know. Just make some assumptions. Then define the APIs, right? Excuse me. What are the APIs you need for the system? Then obviously design the data model. And then you do a blueprint design. So what the overall system design will look like. Excuse me. Then you go with one component with a detailed design, because again, remember the deep dive, you have to make sure that you know the topic in depth, right? So that shows to the company you're trying to apply for that you have the deep dive element. Identify all the risks, what could be to the system, right? Scalability, performance, and things like that, security, and what is your mitigation plan, and then you wrap up, right? So I took an example of, WeTube, right, instead of YouTube. So, this is typical thing will be asked in these major tech companies, right? Either you design a Facebook or a YouTube or whatever, right? But I think, again, the framework should be start with capturing the requirements, right? What are the requirements? Able to upload the videos, share the videos, update the titles and things like that. Make sure you answer back and clarify the requirements which is being asked, right? Then do the ROM efforts, right? Say again, just make assumptions. It's not important the numbers, right? So how many views? Okay, if I'm in US, I have 300 million population, so I'll just take 1/3 of them, 100 million people, and they will watch 5 videos per day. So these many videos per second. So that's my viewing number, right? Uploading, say there are these many people uploading, like there is a ratio of 100, right? And again, you assume the ratio. So for every 100 views, there is one upload. So you just divide by 100. So that many uploads per seconds. And then accordingly that, this is average size of the file which is uploaded, and these many hours, these many seconds, these many minutes. So this much my storage needed per second. So the element is not important, the numbers. The element is you are going through the process. That's what the key. Then define the APIs, right? So what could be the APIs? Upload the video, right? Stream the video, search the video. Then you have your blueprint design. So again, you start defining that, oh, I have a user layer. Then I have a web server request. It goes to the app server. Then I have an encoding service. Then I have a single sign-on server. Then I have a database. Then I store all the content of the media and the file and things like that. Then you go and define the data model, right? The video ID, the title, the description, the thumbnail, the user ID. So all those typical things, even though you know it, show that you how to do it, right? That is very important. And then, pick one component, do the detailed design, right? Whichever component you like. And then basically, define all the risks and mitigations from the scaling perspective, right? How to handle caching, how to handle load balancing, how to handle content delivery, how to handle fault tolerance, and things like that, right? So again, the whole intent is do respond in a framework. And if you literally do this, and most of the tech companies, they give you the whiteboard. So you go and explain there. And if you go in this manner, you have aced the interview. Similarly, object-oriented, how to prepare for that. And there are few companies still asking for the object-oriented, right? So I'm sure, all the object-oriented concepts, from the programming perspective. You should know the unified modeling language element, and how the object-oriented design is done, right? Like the structure diagrams, the behavior diagrams, the interaction diagrams, right? And then how to go about this, right? If someone asks you, hey, can you design an airline ticket booking system, right? How do you do that? So basically, again, start with requirements. Make sure you understand the requirements, right? Search flights, book tickets, online check-in, right? Things like that. Define the use case and the actors, right? Hey, these are my actors. These are my use cases, right? And again, do this with them, either on the paper or on the board, right? Whichever is available media to you. Then you define the class diagram, right? What are my main classes, right? Like airport, the flight seat, the person, the passenger, the reservation, and things like that. Then you define the activity diagram, take a couple of use cases and how that activity diagram will look like, right? You're entering to the website, entering the arrival departure date, entering the personal information and booking the ticket, paying the stuff, right? And then lastly, but not the least, show a code. One example of a one class, how my code looks like. So again, this makes sure that you have the deep dive element of it. So again, if you follow the similar process what we have seen, it's always good, to basically, respond for those kind of questions. Then again, for the data science interviews, I haven't given any examples, but I think I'm given here some pointers which are very, very critical, and data science is very hot nowadays. And again, you don't need to be on a big, massive scale project to have data science experience. You can do this, on your own, where you're working, right? So again, Python is one of the most, important language if you want to get into the data science field. So make sure you learn Python. And to be frank, I'm learning it from last 8 or 9 months, and I'm using this for my own CTO office projects, so that I can do some data science for the work I need. And again, this is just one of the survey, right? Python is one of the highest, used language right nowadays. And again, there are various tools like Jupyter Notebook, where, it's an easy way to basically, define your data science project. So again, get familiar with that. As well as there is another element of pandas, right? Where, this particular tool is very important from the machine learning point of view. And make sure you get yourself familiar with which data chart you need to use. And this is one of the tricky questions being asked in the interview, right? If you want to do something, right, which chart you should start. And if you start with the wrong chart, then, again, you're starting on the wrong foot. So make sure you do that. And lastly, but not the least, is the, the machine learning, right? Make sure you understand all the branches of machine learning. And then you understand all the key terminology, right? So again, this is just a framework, how to prepare, for the data science questions and elements. So again, this is towards the end, right? So I'm trying to wrap up, right? So this is again a framework what we went through, right? And the way we should start always is study the company, do your homework. This is very, very critical. Make sure you create your star sheet. So literally, I recommend everybody should go and open an Excel and create 4 columns: STAR, situation, task, action, and results, and start putting your experiences, so that it's not that 2 days before the interview you're doing it. Just keep this going live, right? And you never know when you have to go and present yourself. And again, go to these values what we have, and then at least one example for all of these values. If you have this, again, if you prepare it, there is no interview you cannot crack. And obviously, as per your role, master your technical answers, right? Follow a technical process. Like if you're in a design area, or if you're in a coding area, make sure, you have those steps, figured out, and then have few examples of your own, right? If you're going for deep technical interviews, right, there are many examples available on the web. You can go and learn. And again, this is how, inshallah, you will land your dream job. So if you go through this process, this is how, you will be able to attack that. And again, believe me, I have failed. Like when I started my career, I failed and not accepted by many companies, in India at that time, back in 1990, 2000, you name it, all those IT companies in India. But you go through the process. I didn't have any guidance, and I was not able to perform. But again, Alhamdulillah, Allah gave me many opportunities, and without Allah's blessing, I could not be here. So with that, I think this is kind of my wrap up of the session, and I'm open for questions. So I will hand it over back to Sister Humaira.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we have a question. Perfect. Yeah, let's do that.
So please participate in this poll question number 3. After that, I'll be taking live questions one by one, which will be answered by our speaker, Mr. Ibrahim Moghal. This poll will be live for just a minute or two. So please be quick and answer your question. In the chat box, I can see many attendees, they are praising today's session. Thank you so much for the praises. Thank you, Ibrahim Sir, for such a wonderful and informative session. Okay, so on the screen is poll result.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think we have a mixed results, but again, I think the majority of you got the answer right. So when you are participating in the interview, right, you should focus on I, right? And as soon as you join the company, you focus on we, right? So I think, again, the only reason is you need to show the interviewer that what you have contributed, what you have done. So again, those are the critical elements we should keep in mind. So with that, again, first of all, I want to, thank you, AMP, mashallah, they are doing a very great work, and Allah bless them, bless us all in every way, right? And basically, our ummah needs a lot of help, and inshallah, we will come up as we go through the process. So with that, I'm open for any Q&A.
Thank you, Ibrahim Sir. I'll take questions one by one. So the first question is from Saddaq Hassan. I heard that someone even without a degree can work in Google. Is it possible?
Yes, I have heard that. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I repeat the question?
Yeah, I had some disturbance, but I know I heard the question. I can respond. Okay. Yes, so I think at least I know in US, I have heard many cases where the employees are hired without a degree. And I think, the reasons, I know there was one case where some of the high schoolers, right, they created a project and that project was picked up by Google in some pairs. So yes, there is a possibility that, as long as you have the skills, you have the elements, Google can hire, non-graduates as well.
Okay, so the next question is how to apply data science to product management like oil and gas, airlines, life science, finance. I request you to please answer this.
Definitely. So if I understood the question, 2-3 industries, oil industry, airline industry or aerospace industry, and finance, right? So fortunately, alhamdulillah, I worked on all of those. So for the airline aerospace industry is one of the element of data science is it could be applied for maintenance of the aircrafts. So you can run machine learning logics to find out with the data history, what you have from the past, at what point of time certain components of the aircraft need maintenance or they will fail. So you can run those, create those regression models, and then you can apply those models, and then you can do the predictive analytics, right? That in 3 months, this aircraft will need this maintenance, so that we can not only avoid any mishap, but also we can avoid, if we plan properly for the maintenance of those airlines, to have the less downtime, so that the revenue will not be impacted for the airlines. The second is oil and industry. So definitely there is a very critical element in that as well from the data science perspective. Is right now, if you see all the oil and gas industries, they are still working on 50-60-year-old systems where they have paper-based drawings. Systems are not digitized, right? All of the data is still in the disconnected systems. So using data science, you can aggregate all of that data. And fortunately, I have worked on some of those projects where we have reduced, especially when you are managing these oil and gas projects, and obviously, the experts on the call may know, but whatever the little knowledge I have, it takes like, billions of dollars to manage those big projects. And when you do the project management, right, you're building an oil rig or things like that, it takes 3 to 4 weeks to gather all the project status data. Imagine even if it takes 2 weeks, you are already out of date with the status. So you don't have the right information for you to make the decision. And with this new data science field, you can connect all the data together, and you will have the data on your tips within the matter of hours, or even live data. And we have done a project where we had all the 3D image of the entire oil and refinery, where if somebody wants to search for certain component, how they are working, they can just go to the web interface, search the component, and take you to the virtual view of that particular component, so you can make all the decisions. So definitely there are many ways to do that. In financial industry, there are many usages, right? Like trying to identify the spending habit of the customer, so that you can find out where they will spend, so that way it can give guidance back to the product companies how they can invest, right? So many usage of data science in the financial field. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. So there is another question by Hashim Malik. The question is, what is more important, behavior or technical competency? Which candidate will you choose if given a chance?
Can you sorry?
What is more important, behavior or technical competency? Which candidate will you choose?
Yeah, definitely. So I think if it is up to me, I will choose the candidate who has done very well in the behavior. Technical elements you can learn, but what I have seen in my 20+ year career, if you don't have the right behavior, even though the person is highly technically educated, that won't be a fit. So again, technical thing is needed, right? That it's not that you cannot know anything, you need to know something, but the more important will be the behavior side as well.
Okay, so the next question is from Sheikh Abdullah. The question is, how to choose right company? Many engineers in India are not getting good jobs. How to explore our job opportunities?
That's a very good question. So I think first of all, how to pick the company, right, or which company you should work for. So I think one thing is what that company's values are, right? And again, if you are and I'll give an example, right? If you're a mechanical engineer with some software element you have learned, right? So again, the best fit for you will be and a software company. If you want to do more, innovative work, right? A software company who has products in the mechanical industry, right? Like a design company or things like that, who has the design software. So that's how you can choose. And the other challenge will be, we have many engineers, right? And we are not getting jobs. So, subhanallah, given the times, it is tough, but at the same time, I think what I believe the most is that, we need to, education is a key. We need to do many certifications. And even today, I learn myself, I take many certificates, right? I have more than a dozen certificates, right? So you should keep learning. When there is a downtime, you should learn. And I know when I graduated back in 1996 as an engineering graduate, I got a campus job and good for 1 year. And then manufacturing downturn came in and I was out of job for almost 6 to 9 months. So what I did, I went and studied and I even applied for, if you remember, CDAC. I don't know if it is still there or not. but I did, I'm a mechanical engineer, but I did my CDAC at that time because I didn't had the jobs, and that helped me a lot, right? So again, try to educate yourself in the downtime, get more certifications, and there are many certifications without cost, and there are many you need to learn. So you need to figure out which one will be best for you as you're moving in your career. So I think those are the two things I will advise.
That's wonderful. So the next question is from Mr. Ajaz. Question is, how much impact does a degree or an institute have in an interview? Could you please indicate a few pointers to make a good first impression on the interviewer or panel? Jazakallah.
Can you repeat that, the first part? Sorry.
The first part is, how much impact does a degree or an institute have in any interview?
Okay. Yeah. So I think very good question. Again, when you are in the initial stages of your career, right? So you don't have an experience, or you have like 1 or 2 year experience. It matters to some extent, but not. As soon as you get about 2-3 years of experience, you should have education. Doesn't matter from which college or university you get it, right? So I think it is required. Obviously, the education is required, but as you move in your career, experience is the key. And how to make a good impression, on the interview panel, right? So I think again, when you go for the interview, the first few questions they will not ask, about deep technical subjects. They will ask about yourself, and they will typically tell you, can you introduce yourself? Can you tell what you have done? And this is where you have a golden chance to use that STAR framework. And again, you can create your own introduction in that format, and then you can introduce. So one of the other thing is, I can recommend that, and I forgot. I will definitely send a supporting slide with that when I upload the material. There is one course, again, I got in US. I don't know if it is in India or not, but storytelling, how to do a storytelling in the corporate world. And it is very important. So again, I try to use those elements. If you saw, I used some of the images throughout my presentation. So try to, there is a framework for storytelling. Maybe I think, we can do a session on storytelling, and I would be happy to do that as a follow-up. But using the storytelling, it is one of the best form of making the best impression when you start your interview. So you can Google and you can find out, but I think that's my recommendation.
All right. So the next question is from Mr. Arbaz Khan. He asked, I'm pursuing MS in nanoelectronic systems. I'm interested to work in fabrication. What are the opportunities for me? Please guide.
I think that's great. Alhamdulillah, higher education is always important. And whenever I see these kind of things, it's very good. So I think I don't know from that inside of the industry, but there are a couple of elements you can do, right? So either you can go to the core industry where you want to work as some of their roles, whether it will be in the design department or whether in the production department, or this is again my suggestion. It may be right or wrong, but again, if you want to make most out of it, right, I would recommend to go into the techno-functional area, which means that try to identify which software industries are serving that particular industry, or software companies. And that way, you are the industry expert, which means that you have learned that industry knowledge, right? And maybe you spend a couple of years in that industry and then try to switch the job to this techno-functional role where you can help that industry to understand the requirements because you had been through that process, and then develop or select or make sure you deploy the best software solution for them. So that way you understand the industry and then you understand the technology. And I think right now, the people with both knowledge are the most in high demand. You cannot be just, and again, I'm sorry to use the word, but nerd in the coding, or you cannot be just an industry expert. You could do that, right? And you will be niche in your area. But if you combine those two, the fusion of those two is I would say, in hot demand right now.
Okay. So my next question is from Mr. Asaf Khan. He has asked any specific inputs for non-development senior profiles like technical support managers. Generally, all the guidance found on web are specific to the development.
Yeah, so I think the technical support is again one of the most important area, and I know it is looked down, and it is not what I can say. It is not being held to the same standard, right? So again, without the technical support organization, any software company cannot work, right? So I think if you look at the technical support organization, right, there is a mix of two elements. One is obviously the technical knowledge, right? I would say 40 to 50% of that, and the 50% is how you're dealing with the customer, because customers are raising issues with you, and how you're responding back to them, right? So I think when we hire, at least in my experience, when we hire a technical support organization team members, right, what we look for is more emphasis on behavior, because this is where customer obsession comes into picture. How you are treating the customer. If the technical support organization is not treating the customer in the most optimal and best way, then the customer will drive away from, and the company will not get the business from them. So I think behavior interview is the most important thing. So again, using your customer support examples, go and even those 8 values which I showed, just build your story, and you should be good. And the rest is technical questions, how you manage the support process, how you manage the elements of doing the day-to-day work of support. And I think there are few standards, but let me take a note. I can try to send those. Right now I'm not able to find on top of my tongue, but I will try to find those resources. So I hope it answers the question.
Yes, thank you. So the next question is from Dr. Muhammad Farhan Pateen. He has asked, I'm currently working for HCL Tech and supporting BD Diagnostic, US-based company. How to improve in IT technology field? I'm basically from basic R&D and diverted to this field. Please help.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think brother has been working in the medical field, if I'm correct.
Yes. So the question is as follows. I'm currently working for HCL Tech and supporting BD Diagnostic for a US-based company. How to improve in IT technology field, as I am basically from basic R&D, research and development, and diverted to this field. Basically, I think he was basically from R&D field, but now he has been directed to BD and diagnostic. So he just wants to know how to improve in IT and technology field.
Definitely. So I understand the question now. So thank you for that. So I think if you are moving from R&D into the diagnostic field, right? I think one of the great way is to learn something on the data science, and I can tell you what. So I think when you're diagnosing something, right, it's more like you could diagnose for a new drug or a new in US we call drug, so don't confuse with the wording. So new medicine, let me put it right way. So if you are launching a new medicine, right, for your company, and there are diagnostics element involved in that. So right now the study is it takes more than 18 months to do a new medicine, right? So I think what you can do to improve your knowledge and skills, right? What we have found is using the data science, doing various analysis, predictive, prescriptive, and other elements, right? You could reduce that, life cycle of that particular, product launch. And if you have those skills, because mashallah, R&D, you are now into the diagnostic, and if you bring in this particular knowledge, you could do projects on your own, right? And as I told you, few tools you have, and you can take small piece and you can do it, right? And you can do a lot of data-driven decisions, data-driven reports, and that could inshallah help you. So I hope I answered the question.
Yes, sir. Since we have a time constraint, we won't be able to take all the questions on this live session. For that, what we will be doing, that we will be compiling all the questions. Those are left unanswered, and then anytime when you get time, Ibrahim bhai, you can write those answers and we can
Inshallah.
send them, inshallah. We will be sending these question and answer report to all the attendees then. So for now, I'll be taking the last question from Mr. Imran. After that, inshallah, we will conclude the session and we end it here. So the question is, how do you find business analyst role in MNCs? Do we have scope in this profile in coming years? For a person who is not precisely into IT, can he go for a BA role in IT, business analyst, role in IT companies? Please guide me. Thank you.
A very, very excellent question. So first thing, business analysis role or business analyst role is very critical. And I think, you know, how can you prepare for that, right? So I think, again, you know, have some high level, you don't need to go deep, high level knowledge on the technical side, but the business analysis is very critical. And again, I don't know if you know or not, but there is a, back in few years back, I got certified called a certified business analyst. So there is a non-profit organization called International Institute of Business Analyst, IIBA. So I think, again, you know, my whole approach is try to find some industry standard and a process and a framework. So from that particular certification, what I found is there is a structured way to do business analysis. And I think right now there is from PMI, from other agile institutes as well. So they're coming up with this. So again, try to gain that certification, and it helped me a lot. It provides the process, right? And from my perspective, you know, I always make sure that whenever I'm executing my projects, I have a business analyst on my team. So business analyst role is very critical because you are knowing the functional side. Now you're trying to make sure, you know, you're defining the requirements and make sure the solution, what has requirements being communicated to the technical team in the right way. There is a right language, there is a right framework. And at the same time, when the solution is delivered by the technical team, you're trying to validate that, is it satisfying the need? And I think, you know, there is a survey done by, I think Gartner, that if you don't have the right business analyst or analysis done, 70% of the time, the needs of the users are not understood correctly, and what is being delivered is not at all what is needed by the users or the business users, right? And you have seen this image, right, where there is a famous image of, you know, there is a bridge being built on the sea, and when they come towards the mid, both bridges are not at all aligned. They are going in different direction, and that's exactly what happens. So from my perspective, it's a very key important role. I recommend you go and do the certification. That brings a lot of value because, again, you talk to the framework, and what I have seen is that the moment you use the framework and methodology, you know, basically you are doing 60-70% of the job, saying that you know the field, and now you put your own experience, your own element into that, you are there. So I would advise that way, and I think it's a very key role. I would recommend you keep doing that, and if possible, inshallah, try to get those certifications.
Wonderful. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Ibrahim bhai, for such a wonderful and informative session. To all the attendees, it was fantastic to have you all on board for today's AMP WebTalk. I hope you all enjoyed it. AMP organizes these sessions by highly qualified professionals and experts in their respective fields to share their learning and viewpoints to guide not only youth, but everyone with their own life experience. We request you to keep coming for these sessions. Keep yourself updated through our website. Through our website, you can visit our past web talks on www.ampindia.org/pastwebtalks. So at the last, do you want to conclude the session, Ibrahim bhai, for 2-3 minutes? You want to give some pointers to our attendees?
Yeah, definitely. So again, thank you for, again, AMP, the president of the AMP USA and other team members. I came to know about AMP, just before Ramadan, and this is a great initiative. I really like the way, how the knowledge is being spread, and in our faith, Ikra is the first word, right? So basically, education is very important. And I think if we want to come out of where we are, if we want to help each other, we need to educate ourselves. And again, just follow the principles of our faith. And I think if we follow that, we will. And again, I'm trying to follow. I'm not a perfect, but we are all trying, striving. So just follow those principles, and inshallah, we will be towards the success, right? So again, I will close my speech by one dua. Um, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. Basically, may Allah, get us out of the deepest darkness we have and help us out of that. And we pray for everybody who is being oppressed, and inshallah we have a peace and prosperity everywhere. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Sister
Thank
Humaira.
you. Thank you. Inshallah. I mean, that was wonderful. I would like to ask Shensha Bhai to please take over from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Humaira, for conducting this webinar, and thank you so much, Ibrahim Bhai, for this wonderful session. I'm very sure there are many experienced people on the call today, some having experience of even 30 years, alhamdulillah. So people are really excited. Even I was excited to attend this webinar. So thank you so much for taking your time and really doing justice to the subject. So we appreciate Ibrahim Bhai, and we hope to work together further on different other projects like this. And thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending this webinar. And inshallah, we'll post for the next webinar very soon. We'll be sharing it. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you.